When I was a student teacher, my college videotaped several of my lessons to use for evaluation purposes. I vividly remember one lesson where I had all 18 of my first graders down on the floor for a read aloud about George Washington. During the lesson, I don't recall being bothered by anything, but when I watched the lesson with my supervisor, the scene was much different than I had remembered. From the back, we watched kids standing on their heads, picking their noses, and even eating leftover snacks that had been stashed in a pocket. Of the 18 kids, less than half were sitting at all for the story, and some weren't even facing me. I was pretty mortified at the scene and positive that I would get a horrible grade. But the response of my supervisor shocked me. One by one, she pointed out the kids who seemed to be the least attentive, and then pointed out how most of them responded correctly to my follow-up questions. They were indeed listening. Even with all the crazy behavior, they still knew exactly what I had taught them. That lesson has always stuck with me. We're quick to judge kids and assume that if they don't sit like stoic church mice, that they simply can't learn anything. It's not true. In fact, kids who don't sit still bother the teacher, parents, and other students. The problem is us. If we haven't met, I'm Kim with Not Consumed Ministries. We help families grow in faith so they can live not consumed by life. I'm thankful that my supervising teacher taught me that lesson before I even had a classroom of my own. But I'm more thankful that I was able to transfer it into my homeschool. You see, I have one of those kids who would have been a classic textbook ADHD case if he had gone to public school. Sitting still was literally impossible for him. But that was the early years. As he finished up the third grade, his teachers at church and co-op all reported that he usually sat still in class, focused on the content, and did very well. Academically, he excelled in every subject except for handwriting. This was a huge change from where he was in kindergarten. In fact, most would have assumed that he would suffer academically, since most children do when they have this issue. But my son was homeschooled. I love that freedom, don't you? He did math while dancing a jig. He listened to rich stories while standing on his head, and he learned all things in the process. Which brings me to you. I'm guessing you clicked on this video because you have a child like this. You're either at your wit's end or you simply don't know how to help, or both. You're also probably worried that your sweet baby will never learn anything, ended up never graduating from high school because he can't focus. Stop believing those lies right now. They are simply not true. That son who struggled to sit still in the early years, he graduated from high school this year. He never had a moment of delays because we homeschooled, and I made sure that he could be successful academically. Today, I want to share 7 simple strategies that you can use to help your child to learn, even if he or she can't sit still. So let's do it. Number 1, keep your lessons short. If your child can't sit still long, give her short lessons. Until 4th grade, there really is no reason ever to go beyond like 15 or 20 minutes. I know your curriculum might suggest otherwise. I would suggest you find a different curriculum. To be honest, young kids, especially boys, should have short and direct lessons always, even if they don't struggle to sit still. Number 2, take physical breaks. In between your short lessons, take physical breaks, like really physical breaks. Have your child do push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, anything. Have them run to the mailbox and back. Anything physical will really help once they need to focus back on school. Our favorites were jumping jacks, running in place, running around the outside of the house, resistance bands, animal crawls, exercise balls, wall or chair pushes, pretty much anything we could find. Number 3, allow flexible positions and locations. This one is key to your success. Many children simply cannot process information while sitting still. Don't let that bother you. God is not offended if your 5-year-old is hanging upside down off the chair while you read the Bible. I promise. Just like I mentioned earlier, this usually bothers us more than it bothers their ability to learn. In most cases, they learn much more when they're free to sit, stand, or move however their body needs to. My oldest son mostly stood while doing school or used an exercise ball. He was always moving, and that was totally fine. Now, if you have multiple children, this might be a distraction. So you might have to work on finding a way to allow this. What we did was we had the girls working in another room or at the kitchen table, and the boys would work with me somewhere else. This one, they could hum, jump up and down, or whatever else made them learn. Now, I do help them to be more intentional when we meet together as a family, as I want them to learn to think about others, and I know that there will be places where they need to learn to sit still. I make these times short and purposeful. As the boys got older, they could sit still longer. Number 4, watch your curriculum choices. Now, there is no one right or wrong curriculum to use here, but I already mentioned that sometimes the curriculum is not right for your kids. Be sure to keep the needs of your child in mind when you select your resources for the year. Don't box them into whatever worked for another sibling because all kids are different. Look for curriculum with short lessons. If you find one that you like, but the lessons are much too long, you can trim it down. For example, have your child complete only the odd number of math problems. Also, try using curriculum that's multi-sensory, like our reading curriculum. This helps break up the learning into different functions, allowing you to go longer and cover more material without frustrating the kids. Beginnings and connections are packed with hands-on, multi-sensory activities perfect for kids who struggle to sit still. From magnetic letter tiles to interactive games and sticker charts, these programs keep young learners engaged while building strong reading skills step by step. Even with all of those activities, we still keep learning short and simple so kids can be successful. I'll drop a link to this in the description box. Number 5. Be patient. Believe me, I know this is the hardest part, but I want to remind you of what I said above. Kids who wiggle learn just as well as those who don't. The problem is you and me. We need to have patience and grace for our children. We need to give them the space to be free to learn their way without feeling like they're weird for not being like others. You can do this, I promise. By the way, our impatience with this child can really harm their self-image, so be very careful. When my son was in high school, he moved down our family row at church to sit next to me. High school. He said, "I like to sit next to you because you don't get annoyed when I move around." Now, I've messed up plenty as a mom, but I was so thankful in that moment that God had given me the wisdom and the patience that I needed to help him and to help him not worry about what other people were saying. The truth is, he really doesn't move around that much anymore in a long church service, but he still believed it was a struggle because so many of his younger years were like that. Do everything you can to normalize movement. Kids need it. As homeschool moms, we need to enjoy the fact that they can move around instead of getting frustrated that they aren't sitting still. Number 6, consider dietary changes. Now, if focus really is a struggle and you feel like you need to do something to help, I'd start with dietary changes. I'm not going to pretend I'm a medical expert here, but I can tell you that there are countless studies on the topic. Diet matters when it comes to being able to focus. So if your child has trouble sitting still and focusing, consider cutting back on caffeine, sugar, artificial dyes, maybe even gluten. I notice a drastic difference when those things are limited in our home. Number 7, give them structure. Now, one of the best things that you can do for a child who struggles to sit still, loses focus, or seems to have trouble paying attention is to help them develop structure in their day. Structure is the antidote for all of these things, and it helps students thrive. My son would tell you that it was his secret weapon. He thrived with a solid morning routine and his student planner. The planner serves as a checklist to help students know what is expected and track how much they've accomplished. My son needed this plan to succeed. Now, if you'd like help setting your child up to use a checklist and learn independently, I have a 3-part series that I'll link in the description. I promise this will make all the difference for your child. All right, there you have it. 7 simple strategies for helping your child learn, even if they struggle to sit still. I hope this was encouraging to you. Sitting still is something most young kids struggle with. Don't rush to label your child or frustrate their efforts. Give them space to run, play, and learn at the same time. If you found this video helpful, would you please subscribe and hit that like button? It helps our channel to get out to more homeschool families like yours. Thank you so much for doing that. If you're ready to help your child learn independently and thrive with the structure of a checklist, that video should be popping up on the screen now. See you next time.